Hello, welcome to Kitchen Basics 101, where I teach you the bare bone basics as if you've never cooked a day in your life from the perspective of a mom. A house cleaning mess today, but I'm going to make the classic meatloaf, right? The American classic, I think. If meatloaf comes from somewhere else, please someone tell me, but I'm pretty sure this is like a 1950s American classic meatloaf. One of the reasons that we're making it today is because I asked you guys in a video where I was making pumpkin chocolate chip bread a little while ago if you had any suggestions for a loaf pan, because I was using a loaf pan I didn't like, and I don't have like a glass loaf pan. And the TikTok shop sent me it's a set of 3, and they have lids. You guys know how I feel about storage, cooking something and then being able to store it. You finish your meatloaf, you put the lid on and you pop it in the fridge. Oh, heaven sent. We have to try it and make sure it works. I mean, it's glass, it should work. But what if my meatloaf doesn't turn out? We will blame much loafing to make. So I have 1 1/3 pounds, 1.3 pounds of ground beef. This is pretty lean. This is 85/15. Put gloves on today just to show you that you can wear gloves. I normally do it barehanded, but you can totally use gloves. Make sure they don't have powder. A lot of times gloves like this will have powder on them and you don't want that getting in your food. So make sure that they are powder-free gloves. I'm just going to put like a 1/2 cup-ish breadcrumbs. I don't know. I've never measured. We're going to see what the consistency looks like and then we'll decide. 1 1/3 pounds of ground beef, and then we're going to do 2 eggs. Egg 1. The cool part about using gloves is that my hands won't dry out because, man, I wash my hands a lot in the kitchen. Now, I'm still going to have to wash because I'm going to touch the bread bag and I have egg on. People, when I've made this in the past, say, oh, you don't get grease in the bottom of your meatloaf. And here's a couple reasons why. Maybe it's the meat that I'm using. I told you that I was using 85/15 ground beef, so maybe it's that. Maybe it's this step right here, which is that I take fresh bread. I do breadcrumbs, but then I take fresh bread and I always just break up a piece or 2 pieces of fresh bread into little pieces. I usually use the heel because nobody in my house likes to eat the heel. And I just break it up and put it in here. And so that could be part of the reason that that I don't get that grease in the bottom. So maybe that's just like a trick that my grandma always did and I didn't realize it was a trick, but maybe it is. I don't know. So I think we'll put 2 pieces and then again, we'll mix and we'll see where we're at. You could make this ground beef. You could make this with turkey. You can make this with chicken. Here's all I'll tell you. Turkey and chicken are not as fatty and they dry out more than the ground beef does. So what I would recommend is to bump up your fatty elements and your liquid elements. So what you could do, you could add another egg or just an egg yolk. You could add some, if you're doing turkey, well, either turkey or chicken, you could add a little stock or bone broth to add a little more moisture to cook it in. You could add cheese. These are all ways to bump up the fat and the moisture content so that it's moist. If you use ground beef, it has a lot of that in it. People get hysterical, but I'm making what is traditional in my house. So it's got a little squidge of ketchup in it. If you don't like ketchup, don't use it. Mix this all together and we'll see where our consistency is, okay? Now, I took this meat out of the freezer. Freezing halts the bacterial process, but that doesn't always mean that it's fine. So definitely give it a little sniff. It really should have no smell or a faint smell. It has a very strong, foul smell. Then it's no good, whether you had it in the freezer or not, whether it's in date or not. If it has a foul smell, it's not good, okay? We want to mix, but we don't want to overmix. So that's why hands are such a great tool because they mix things so quickly because you have all these digits. Now, I think it's a little soft. So I'm going to add another piece of bread to mine. There were small pieces of bread, I think. Let me get one more. Yeah, I think so. I think so. One more piece of bread broken up into there. And then I have seasoned breadcrumbs, but I'm going to do a little salt, a little pepper, and probably a little bit of garlic just to Give it a little va-va-voom. Now, you could add to this some finely diced onion. If you love onion, you could add garlic. You could add celery if you like celery. I would just say for a meatloaf, you want to, cut it up pretty good so it sort of melts all in and becomes one thing. So finely diced onion. My husband would love that. I don't like onions, so it's not getting any. But it's delicious in here. An option for gluten-free girlies is you could use rice. Instead of bread, you could totally use rice. Rice is delicious. Just because you're not using those seasoned breadcrumbs, I'd recommend a little bit of seasoning, which are a pinch of salt, not much, little pinch of pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. Just a smidge. Just dressing it up. Do you have to add this? Absolutely not. You got your seasoned breadcrumbs. You get your ketchup. You get your bread. You get your meat. It's delicious. But you can always add a little bit of seasoning if you want. Add whatever makes you happy. And I know I just did a video about seasonings. People say, I'm a beginner. I can't just add whatever I want. I did a video explaining to you how to pick seasonings and great ways to choose what seasonings you want to add. And you got to learn what you like. That's an important part of it. All right, I think we're overworking this a little, so we're going to stop. So excited. When I saw there were 3 loaf pans, I thought, oh, they're going to be small. Look at how gorgeous and big. So this is what I do. I press it in. I didn't spray this with cooking spray or anything. So we'll see how she comes out of the loaf pan. So you press it down, and then what I do is I take my fingers and I go along the edge like this. Okay? And I make it into sort of like a mound. Yeah? Like a loaf would come out. Bread loaf would come out. Beautiful. Gorgeous, perfect. I have to take my glove off and I realized I should show you. Okay, we're taking the gloves off, right? This glove I didn't get dirty. I really only use this one to mix. But you want to turn this glove inside out, okay, onto itself, so that this part you're touching is the part that was touching your hand, not the part that was touching the meat, okay? So inside out with the glove. Give her a little decorative drizzle, and then let's do 350 oven for like 45-ish minutes. Definitely could have put the salt and pepper in at the beginning when I was putting all the rest of it in. I just forgot, but that's okay. No big deal. So meatloaf looks magnificent. She's fresh out of the oven. Looking fantastic, smelling even better. I made a little bit of mashed potato on the side there. She looks divine. She looks nice and juicy. She doesn't look dry. Not a lot of extra grease, which is always good. Tender, smoking. Delicious classic, guys. Got a little mashed potato on the side. Delicious. Maybe a little extra ketchup. I mean, it's so simple and straightforward, right? And easy. So easy. Okay, it's the end of the night. There's half a meatloaf left. This is my favorite part about this. Right into the fridge. Right into the fridge. Why don't all loaf pans, why don't all cooking vessels come with lids? Why?